Hi everybody, Wycliffe Barrett here, Explain Dedicated. It's Sunday afternoon, the weather outside is a little bit dismal. I just thought I'd do a quick video for you. The A320 from Toliss has been out just over a week, I think. And I've noticed as someone who flies on VATSIM, somebody who controls on VATSIM as well, I've noticed that there are a lot of A321s around. And I thought after a week it might be a good idea just to say a few words about the aircraft. I mean, there are loads of videos out there, absolutely loads. And Captain Canada, he's been streaming left, right and centre for the last couple of weeks in actual fact. I thought I would, I've done a couple of streams, but I was called out on one of them, but since then, I think all the streams that I've done and all the flying I've done, what I've found is that this is an excellent aircraft. And I suppose this video is really just a kind of homage to Toliss and to congratulate them on the amazing success of this aircraft. I've just been looking through the manual. In fact, there are 3 manuals with the aircraft. You get the aircraft manual, you get the simulation manual, and you get a tutorial. And I think the tutorial is 136 pages long, and the aircraft manual is 105 pages, and the simulation manual is another 100 and odd pages. So brilliant. Although I will say that the manuals have been written as if it was for X-Plane 10. As opposed to X-Plane 11, but that doesn't really matter because all the things they talk about in relation to commands, etc., that you can set up, you can do that in X-Plane 11 just as easily as you can in X-Plane 10. But I was looking through the manuals because I wanted to find the specification sheet because I had noticed that a couple of videos and not so much videos, sorry. A number of questions on forums was saying how good was this aircraft? Was it study level? And there was even one comment from somebody who said it was quite simplistic, which was a bit of a joke really. And I'm pretty sure they were being ironic because although it may appear simple, that's the beauty of Airbus. All their aircraft kind of operate the same, and they look simple, but in terms of systems, they're very complex aircraft. They fly by wire, so everything's done by computers, and they're very complex aircraft indeed. But it's just the way they put the aircraft together for the pilot to take the load off the pilot and to ensure that the pilot can fly the aircraft quite easily, a one-person operation, because everything is done by the computers. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the systems, and as I say, the specification sheet explaining what is actually in the aircraft is huge. I mean, it is absolutely mammoth. And I got to the point where I thought there's no way I'm going to read this out as a list because it's just too much in the list. So what I wanted to do was talk about one thing in particular, and that's the Toliss Interactive Simulation Control System, or the ISCS system. And also I'm going to talk about a very handy book that I've used for a number of years. So the ISCS system, or the Interactive Simulation Control System, is actually where you go to configure your aircraft, or to get the data to configure your aircraft. So it's all about weights and balances and fuel loading and passenger loading and payload loading as well. And you can do all that through the Interactive Simulation Control System and transfer all of that data over into your FMGS or MCDU, whatever you want to call it. Don't call it an FMC, that's Boeing. Not only can you transfer that data over automatically, you can transfer it over by writing it into the MCDU yourself. And I find that a more satisfying way of doing it. rather than doing it automatically just on the click of the button, I would much rather input it personally, input all the data. And I find that far more satisfying and enjoyable. So you can do that there. The other great thing about the interactive simulation control system is the ability to save situations and to replay those situations exactly at any time. So what I like to do, especially with approaches that I haven't done before, or difficult approaches, RNAV approaches that I haven't done before, I like to set the aircraft up just before the approach, or maybe 10-15 miles from the final approach fix, set the aircraft up with all the radios and everything, and then save at that point. There are two ways of doing this. You can actually fly the route anyway, and then when you get to a point that you'd like to say, right, I want to save from here, you save it there. Or you could go to the airport of choice and, using the map in X-Plane 11, position yourself where you want to be as you come to the approach, then set up the aircraft with all of those approach factors, and then save. And then you're just saving that bit. You don't have to fly the whole route. I'm not quite sure how good that is, over flying the whole route and planning the whole route, etc., to get there. I'm pretty sure you can plan the whole route, and then in X-Plane 11 you'd be able to skip forward to a point where you'd come in 10-15 miles from your final approach fix, so you could start the simulator there and then create a save point within the ISCS. Absolutely brilliant. I've done that for a couple of approaches that I've got saved there, and I keep repeating them. And it's a really handy tool, because then you can practice your landing, getting your flare right and your landing rates right. And you do not need to land an Airbus like butter. In fact, you don't need to land any aircraft like butter. Up to 300 feet per minute is perfectly acceptable. And in fact, you do need to land with a little bit of firmness to activate the braking system, but that's a whole nother story. The other thing I've been using over the last couple of weeks is this incredible book. Let me hold it that way so you don't get the sunshine on it. This is the Airbus A300 series flight simulation book, check ride book, and this is by Mike Ray. You can see his name down here, Mike Ray. Mike Ray was a Boeing pilot. Primarily flew 737s, 757s and 767s, and he's written books, a number of books. This is the Airbus one, but he's written a number of books for the Boeing 700 series. He's written books for the 757, the 767, and I think he's done one for the 777. I'm not quite sure. But the way that Mike Ray approaches this, and the way that Mike Ray approaches the aircraft, is that it's a check ride, a level D simulation check ride. And although these books were written for MFS 2014, I think, and for FSX, they're very relevant for any study level simulator. So I've been using this book for the last few weeks. Well, not the last few weeks. I've been using this book for a long time, in actual fact. And as I say, it's written for a study level simulator. Then these books are brilliant, and I'll show you for why. One of the things that Mike does is he puts in lots of drawings. So there's text, words and drawings. Now, if you know anything about adult learning, some people like to read, some people like to look at pictures, and then there are other people who like words and pictures. I'm one of those. I like words and pictures. Okay, so I'm quite happy to read, but I'm also quite happy to look at pictures. And I find these books easier to use than YouTube. You go looking on YouTube, and you'll come across all sorts of videos and everything, which are quite good, but I don't think they really help for learning. It depends what you're trying to learn. If you're trying to learn soldering, for example, then YouTube videos are brilliant. It's not something you can learn out of a book. But if you're learning theory and practice, then something like this. Get the sun off it. Something like this is absolutely brilliant. And not only does he write, not only does he fill the book with pictures, but the way that he writes, can you see that? The way that he writes is with humour as well. Let me get the sun off it. There we go. He writes things from a humorous point of view. So when you go through this book, and it's a reference book, you wouldn't start at page 1 and read it all the way through. You might read different bits of it. It's actually quite amusing. It's very, very funny, the way that he's written it. Things like, this, I hope you can see that, cold and dark cockpit, yeah? So he actually tells you how to, what you need to do to start the aircraft up. And I have noticed a few posts on Facebook and YouTube where people are saying, well, how do I start it up? So it tells you here, but then on this side, you've got a graphical kind of explanation of it, starting the APU. And, for some of us who've been doing this for a long time, we kind of know how to do that. But if you're a new user, I'm trying to get the sun off it, there we go. If you're a new user, it's bewildering. It really is bewildering. There's a lot to learn. So these books are absolutely brilliant. Now then, as I say, I've been using this, and there was something that I needed to learn the other week, because I've never really done it in an Airbus. I've done it in a Boeing aircraft, but never in an Airbus, and that was hold. How to hold and how to get out of a hold. And it was in here. I found it, and I'm trying to find it again, and I can't. But it was in this book. It told you exactly how to get into a hold and out of a hold. He even talks about how to do an ILS DME approach. Yeah, he talks about RNAV approaches, how you do those. Yeah, but not only does he talk about it, he shows you how to input it into the MCDU as well. Anyway, this book, along with the Toliss A321, is superb and will give you a lot of fun, a lot of time. I was talking to a friend of mine the other evening, and we were discussing the learning that's involved in flying an aircraft. And he was saying that it's been such a long time that he's flown a Boeing aircraft, because he's been flying Airbus for quite some time. When he gets back into a Boeing aircraft, he has to spend a couple of minutes just recalling and remembering. And we both agreed that really what you should do is just practice on one aircraft, one type. So whether it be Airbus or Boeing, and keep flying it until you've got it almost automatic. You're doing it automatically, and then once you've done that, you can go on to the next aircraft and learn that one. There's another friend of ours who unfortunately isn't very well health-wise, and so can spend a lot of time learning aircraft, and does that exceptionally well, so much so that a couple of years ago they learned how to fly a Russian aircraft where everything, all the labels and everything inside the aircraft were in Russian. But there's you find the APU, you find the engine start, you find the engine start. But even so, everything was labelled in Russian. So it wasn't that they learned Russian, they just know their way around that aircraft. Although they haven't flown it for a long time, I wonder whether they would be able to get back into it and fly it, because that person has been flying Airbus for quite some time. Anyway, this video is just a homage. Also, a little bit of testing on using my video editing software that I'm getting used to more and more. It's quite complex. It's industry standard. So that's what all this is about. But if you want to learn something, get one of these books. You can get them from www.uniformtangoechomike.com, www.utem.com, and they're brilliant. You can get hard copies, you can get download PDFs, whatever, and I highly recommend them. So at the end of this video, what I want to say is many congratulations to Toliss. Well done, guys. You've done a brilliant job. Your developers, your designers, your 3D painters, your livery painters, and the beta testers. You've done a fantastic job. And not only that, within 1 week, we've already had a patch, an update for it. And I know that you're working on a couple of little bugs as well. So there we are. Hope you find this video useful. Don't forget, get yourself a book, download a PDF or whatever, and happy flying. You have many, many happy days. We'll see you soon. Take care. Sunday afternoon.